Okay, so some of you guys were saying that you were having some trouble with this worksheet about whole and half steps. So I want to try to see if I can't help you out a little bit more or make it clearer for you. Basically, they use this diagram to show you what a whole step is. And a whole step, of course, is two half steps. So for example, C to C sharp would be a half step. C sharp to D would be a half step. Okay, and like my other video stated, the black keys are called enharmonic keys because they can have two names. Okay, so C to D would be a whole step. D to E would be a whole step because D to D sharp is a half step. D sharp to E is a half step. E and F are a half step because there's no black key in between there. So therefore, E and F are a half step, and B and C are also a half step. F to G would be a whole step. G to A would be a whole step. A to B would be a whole step. And if, like I said before, B to C would be a half step. So let that sink in for a minute. Half steps would be C to C sharp to D to D sharp to E to F we already established as a half step. F to F sharp, half step, F sharp to G, half step, G to G sharp, half step, G sharp to A, half step, A to A sharp, half step, A sharp to B, half step, B to C, half step. Okay, so they do give you an explanation, which is basically what I put in the YouTube video. And what they want you to do, or what I want you to do, is you're going to name the notes. So the first example they give you, you have to know your treble clef notes, of course. This first note here is C. The second note here is C sharp. So I'm going to find C and C sharp on the piano keyboard. Here's C, and here's C sharp. So the distance between C and C sharp is a half step, and that's why they said half step. So C is a half step to C sharp. So I'm going to do another one for you and see if that helps you. Okay, so I would have to know that this note here is F, and then I'd have to know that this note here is G. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to the keyboard, and I can see F and G. And because there's a half step in between, F to G, there's a black key in between, I know this is not a half step, but instead it's a whole step. They want you to do the same thing down here on number 2. They want you to name the notes in bass clef. So they did the first one. C is a whole step to D. So if I go back and I take a look at my piano keyboard, I got C to D. There's a black key in between. So C to D is a whole step. I can see that right there. I got to slide back and forth. Here I've got G in bass clef to A. I'm going to go find them on the piano keyboard. Here is G. Here is A. So that is a whole step because I have a black key in between. So G to A is a whole step. Down on the very bottom, you don't even have to name the notes. All they want you to tell me, you might have to name the notes in your head, I guess. But basically they give you the two notes, and then you have to just tell me if they're a whole or a half. So this is F to G. So here's F, here's G. So F to G is a whole step because it's got a black key in between. The next one is A, and you can write them in if you want. And the second one is A and then B. So here's A to B, has a black key in between. So that's going to be a whole step. So basically what you're doing on this worksheet is you are just labeling the names of the notes, and then telling me whether or not it's a whole step or a half step according to the piano keyboard up here on top. Okay, give it a try. All I can ask is that you try. If you have questions, I will put a discussion up on Schoology. You can ask me any questions, and then I'm going to ask you to please, if you would, submit. That's it. All right, thanks. Bye.